Before the invention of anti-diabetic medications, diet and lifestyle modification played a pivotal role in reducing the risk of diabetes. Food was consumed as medication that helped maintain a healthy body and mind. With the availability of insulin and anti-diabetic medication, the core part of maintaining our health, that is food, has taken a back seat. Diabetes is a chronic metabolic disease, which is characterized by elevated levels of blood glucose or blood sugar, which leads over time to serious damage to the heart, blood vessels, eyes, kidneys, and nerves. There are mainly three types of diabetes: type 1, type 2, and gestational diabetes, diabetes while pregnant. Type 1 diabetes, known as insulin-dependent or juvenile diabetes, is a chronic condition in which the pancreas produces little or no insulin by itself. Type 2 diabetes is a common type of diabetes. This is usually reported in adults, and it occurs when the body becomes resistant to insulin or doesn't produce enough insulin. And the third type is gestational diabetes, was observed in pregnant women who have never had diabetes. As per WHO, average 422 million people worldwide have diabetes, and 1.5 million deaths are directly attributed to diabetes every year. Food plays a major role in the progression of diabetes, as well as controlling sugar or sugar spikes in a person suffering from diabetes. Carbohydrates, fiber, and proteins are important content of all food. Carbohydrate is also known as carbs. The body breaks down carbs into glucose, a sugar, which then increases the level of glucose in the blood. The body utilizes that glucose for fuel to keep you going throughout the day, which is known as blood sugar or blood glucose. There are three types of carbohydrates. 1. Sugars like natural sugar in fruit and milk, added sugar in soda, and many other packaged foods. 2. Starches include oats, wheat, and other grains, starchy vegetables like corn and potatoes, dried beans, lentils, and peas. 3. Fiber is the part of plant foods that are not digested but help to stay healthy. Sugars and starches increase blood sugar, but fiber doesn't. The carbohydrate quantity and quality play a major function in the management and prevention of diabetes. In 2002, the Institute of Medicine established an RDA for carbohydrates of 130 grams a day for adults and children aged 1 year. This value is dependent on the number of sugars and starches required to provide the brain with an adequate supply of glucose. The Institute of Medicine set an acceptable macronutrient distribution range for carbs of 45–65% of total calories. Before any medications were available for the treatment of diabetes mellitus, experts recommended dietary carbohydrate restriction in the early 20th century. After the discovery of insulin and oral hypoglycemic medicines, experts gradually changed the dietary recommendations to include more carbohydrate intake, as experts reasoned that the medications could be used to keep glucose in control. As per Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism, people with type 2 diabetes ate a low-carbohydrate diet for 6 months, and their diabetes remained well managed more than 3 years later, if they stick to the diet. One study reported that people with type 1 diabetes followed a low-carbohydrate diet. Those who followed the diet saw a significant improvement in blood sugar levels over a 4-year period, and achieves a long-term significant HbA1c reduction. Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism states that high-starch, high-carbohydrate diets excessively stimulate appetite and disturb energy balance in patients with the metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. Fiber also helps to control blood sugar levels in people with diabetes. Fiber, particularly soluble fiber, can slow the absorption of sugar and help to improve blood sugar levels. A diet that includes insoluble fiber may also reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Diets high in protein have shown beneficial effects on glucose homeostasis in short-term trials, and have thus been suggested as a potential strategy for type 2 diabetes (T2D) prevention. The recommended dietary allowance of protein for a healthy adult with minimal physical activity is currently 0.8 grams protein per kilograms body weight per day. Current atherosclerosis reports journal states that higher protein intake may reduce risk of developing diabetes, and also improves metabolic control when weight loss is achieved. More intakes of total and animal protein were related to a higher risk of type 2 diabetes, while intake of vegetable protein had a modest inverse association. Vegetable protein and low-quality carbohydrates were associated with a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. It is suggested that adopting a diet rich in plant-based proteins should be considered for type 2 diabetes prevention. Making a few changes in your lifestyle may also help to avoid the serious health complications of diabetes in the future. Lose extra weight, eat healthy plant foods, eat healthy fats, be more physically active, skip fad diets, and make healthier choices. Low carbohydrate intake, fiber intake, and vegetable protein intake may reduce the risk of diabetes.